It was a calm Sunday morning in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Families were out walking their dogs, kids were riding bikes, and the usual sense of peace filled the air. But in one particular street, a storm was about to brew, a storm caused by one woman who believed the rules did not apply to her. Her neighbors knew her well. They called her Karen. She was the type of person who thought her word was law, always finding reasons to complain, always policing others while ignoring her own behavior. That morning, a man named Marcus, a tall, well-dressed black man in his 40s, drove into the neighborhood after a long night shift. He parked his car and began unloading groceries from his trunk. He was calm, tired, and simply looking forward to making breakfast for his family. But as fate would have it, Karen's son, a teenager known for being spoiled and arrogant, spotted Marcus carrying 2 heavy bags of groceries. Without hesitation, the boy walked straight up to Marcus and demanded, "Hey, give me those bags. My mom says you don't belong here anyway, so I should take them." Marcus paused, lowering the bags to the ground. He looked the boy straight in the eye and asked firmly, "Excuse me? These are my groceries. Why would I hand them to you?" The boy smirked. "Because my mom says people like you should be grateful to even live in this neighborhood, so give them up." Marcus felt his patience thinning. He had worked long hours keeping the city safe, and now he was being harassed outside his own home. "Go back to your house," Marcus said sternly. "I don't know what your mother has been teaching you, but this is not how decent people behave." The boy, offended, ran back into his house and shouted for his mom. Within seconds, Karen stormed out onto the street, her arms crossed, her face red with anger. "What did you just say to my son?" she yelled. Marcus calmly replied, "I told him to respect people and stop trying to steal my groceries. That's it." Karen scoffed loudly, her voice echoing down the street. "Steal? My son doesn't steal," he asked unanimously. "You people are always so dramatic. If you can't handle living here, maybe you shouldn't be here at all." Marcus clenched his jaw but remained composed. "Your son tried to take my groceries. That's called stealing. And for your information, I do live here. I've lived here longer than you." Karen rolled her eyes and reached for her phone. "You know what? I don't have time for this. I'm calling the cops. Let them deal with you." Several neighbors who had stepped outside to see the commotion whispered among themselves. Some shook their heads, embarrassed by Karen's behavior, but none dared to step in. Karen dialed 911 and exaggerated the story. "There's a suspicious black man threatening my son and refusing to leave our neighborhood. He's acting aggressive. Please send someone right away." Her voice was shrill and full of false panic. Marcus simply sighed. He had seen this tactic before, people weaponizing 911 against innocent black men. What Karen didn't know, however, was that Marcus wasn't just any man. He was the police commander of the entire city's force, within minutes, to patrol. Cars arrived, lights flashing. Karen ran to the officers dramatically. "Thank goodness you're here. This man is dangerous. He threatened my son and tried to take things that don't belong to him." Marcus stood calmly by his car, groceries still on the ground. The officers glanced at him, and immediately their expressions changed. They recognized him. One of them straightened up and said respectfully, "Commander Marcus." "Sir, we didn't know it was you. Is everything all right?" Karen froze. Her mouth dropped open. "Wait, what did you just call him? Commander?" "No, he's just some guy causing trouble." "He's lying." Marcus finally stepped forward, pulling out his badge. "Yes, I'm Commander Marcus Daniels. I run this city's police force. And this troublemaker is standing in front of his own home, minding his own business until your son demanded his groceries and you called 911 with a false report." The officers turned toward Karen, their expressions stern now. "Ma'am, making a false emergency call is a serious offense," one of them said. Karen's face turned pale. "No, you don't understand. I was just protecting my son." "Protecting him?" Marcus cut her off, his voice firm. "You've been teaching him entitlement and hatred. He thought it was acceptable to steal from me just because of the color of my skin, and you encouraged it." The neighbors who had been watching began to murmur, some recording the incident on their phones. Karen's reputation as the neighborhood bully was finally catching up to her. One officer said, "Commander, do you want us to file an official report for this?" Marcus shook his head. "Not today. I don't want to drag her son through the system for his mother's mistakes. But let this be clear, if you ever call 911 again with lies, if you ever harass me or anyone else in this community, you will face charges. Do I make myself clear?" Karen stood frozen, her pride shattered. She tried to speak, but all that came out was a stammer. I didn't know. That's the problem," Marcus said coldly. "You didn't want to know, but now you do?" "I don't just live here, I protect this city, and that includes protecting people from your lies and abuse." Her son, standing behind her, looked down in shame. For the first time, he realized his mother's behavior had consequences. Marcus picked up his groceries calmly, nodded to the officers, and walked toward his home. As he opened his front door, he turned back one last time. "Respect is earned. Karen, not demanded, remember that." The officers gave him a nod of respect, then escorted Karen back to her house, warning her to think carefully about her actions in the future. Word of the incident spread quickly across the neighborhood. Some neighbors later approached Marcus to apologize for not stepping in, while others thanked him for standing his ground. From that day on, Karen kept a much lower profile, avoiding the man she once tried to humiliate. But deep down, Marcus knew it wasn't just about one confrontation. It was about teaching a lesson not just to Karen and her son, but to everyone watching that dignity, truth, and justice will always overpower lies, prejudice, and arrogance. And that day, the so-called suspicious man turned out to be the highest authority in law enforcement, the one person Karen never expected to face.